Standard histories describe a continent paralyzed by intellectual decay and religious warfare, but this 13th century manuscript tells a different story. It shows two figures from different cultures sitting across from each other, calmly playing a board game. This dynamic is often called convivencia, literally living together. Historians are divided on what this actually looked like in practice. Some view medieval Spain as a multi-faith utopia, while others see a system defined by religious and ethnic boundaries. In the 9th and 10th centuries, the city of Córdoba grew into a thriving metropolis under the Umayyad dynasty. The physical evidence of this wealth remains in the Great Mosque of Córdoba, whose sophisticated architectural synthesis reflects a massive concentration of imperial resources. Córdoba was an unequal hierarchy, not a modern democracy. Yet that managed, rigid structure produced a level of cultural and economic flourishing that the rest of Europe lacked. Coexistence relied on a specific Islamic legal framework. Non-Muslims were classified as dhimmis, or a protected class. This designation allowed Jewish and Christian communities to practice their faiths and participate in trade without facing death or exile. But that protection carried a steep cost. Society functioned as a strict pyramid. An Arab elite held the peak, followed by converted Muslims. At the bottom, Christian and Jewish dhimmis paid a heavy tax, the jizya, in exchange for physical safety. This system funneled their wealth directly upward to enrich the rulers. The legendary coexistence of Córdoba was a highly profitable, pragmatic system of subjugation. It maintained peace by ensuring every group remained within its assigned legal boundaries. That balance of power collapsed as the Christian Reconquista pushed south. In 1085, Christian forces captured the strategic city of Toledo, instantly shifting the region's political center of gravity. Inside the city, the conquerors found libraries filled with advanced Arabic and Hebrew texts. These collections contained scientific works and Greek philosophy that had been lost to the rest of the Latin-speaking world for centuries. The Christian rulers wanted this knowledge, but they could not read the languages. Accessing this material required the cooperation of the Jewish and Muslim scholars they had just subjugated. The Toledo School of Translators operated as a state-sponsored intellectual factory. It was a network of scholars organized to process and convert thousands of documents. This exchange was entirely transactional. Christian kings tolerated minority scholars to extract their science and mathematics, not because they valued the cultures themselves. Teams of Jewish intermediaries and Christian clerics worked side by side. The Jewish scholars read the Arabic texts aloud in the local Castilian dialect, and the Christian clerics then converted those words into Latin for distribution across Europe. Through this assembly line, they reintroduced medicine, astronomy, and Aristotelian logic to the West. The knowledge they transmitted would eventually form the basis of European university education. But academic collaboration did not improve life on the streets. Physical evidence, like the ceramic plaque for the Calle de la Judería Vieja, shows how Jewish communities were forced into segregated quarters. Outside the libraries, this era was marked by rising pogroms and massacres. Sharing knowledge in a library did not prevent violence in the town square. Intellectual cooperation often exists entirely separate from social harmony. In 1491, the Reconquista reached its climax at the Siege of Granada. This was the last Islamic stronghold in Western Europe, with the emir's power now confined to the walls of the Alhambra. The surrender terms were surprisingly generous. The 1491 Treaty of Granada guaranteed the defeated Muslims the right to practice Islam, follow their own laws under their own judges, and retain full property rights. The Catholic monarchs initially took a laissez-faire approach. They appointed moderate archbishops and hoped that living alongside Catholics would eventually lead Muslims to convert voluntarily. For a brief moment, it appeared that a legally protected multi-faith society could function, even under total Christian rule. That fragile strategy abruptly ended in 1499. Cardinal Cisneros shredded the treaty, launching a campaign of forced baptisms and ordering massive public book burnings of Arabic manuscripts and Qurans. The fallout was immediate. The Alhambra decree expelled all Jews, while Muslims were forced to convert or face exile. Those who stayed were monitored by the Inquisition and eventually banished in the early 17th century. This destruction marked a transition from a collection of diverse kingdoms to a unified central authority. By demanding absolute religious uniformity, Spain established the template for the modern nation-state, a single power defined by one culture and one identity. The knowledge extracted during the Toledo era reached the rest of Europe just as Spain was purging its minorities. The medical and philosophical texts translated in Iberia provided the intellectual material that European universities used to build the Renaissance and the scientific revolution. Convivencia was a fragile survival mechanism forged in the space between warring empires. It created a golden age of cultural cross-pollination that built the modern world, only to be dismantled by the pursuit of absolute political power.